Welcome to Improv for the Podcast. On this week's episode, we're joined by Colleen Peach, who will tell us all about her improvisational journey. We'll play a game, and most importantly, learn how she improv'd her life. Let's hit it. Welcome to Improv for the Podcast. On tonight's episode, I'm joined by the incredibly talented traveler of the world, writer of sketches, improviser, and lighting designer, Colleen Peach. Colleen, thank you so much for coming on the show. How are you doing this evening?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing really well. You know, it's finally getting cold.
Yes.
First hoodie that I've worn in months on the podcast. Things are looking up.
Yeah, it is getting into fall, winter time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's good. Things are good. Back in the studio, you know, I always love recording these shows, but, I'm looking at this old sign up here, and I'm curious, what's your relationship to this old place, IFTP?
Oh, it goes way back. I'm going to say 2016, and I'd like Matt to correct me if it was actually 2017, somewhere around there. I came across IFTP on Yelp.
Oh, ooh.
It had 5 stars across the board.
Wow.
I was at work. I remember Googling. And I think we had just had performance reviews, and they had told me that I needed to work on my presentation skills. And I was like, okay. I think I maybe Googled, how to improve your presentation skills.
Sure, as
and
one does.
Obviously, as you do, everything now. And Toastmasters, obviously, was one, and I had some experience. I had never done it, but at my previous firm, there was a group, and it felt a little like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And then doing improv was another recommendation. And so then I Googled, improv classes nearby, probably something of that sort. And so Improv for the People came up, and I went to the website and was like, that's not that far away. It has fantastic reviews. I can go audit a class, it looks like. I'm going to just go check it out. And that was the start of it.
And that was the start of it back in 2016. Well, I'm excited to dive into that a little more because I'm just always so fascinated about how people actually find it. It's like whether it's Yelp reviews, word of mouth, or like whatever. So we'll talk about that more in a little bit. But before we do, Colleen, we got to play some 3 things, of course, but it's personal.
Okay.
All right. So have you played 3 things before?
No.
All right. So I'm going to throw a couple categories at you. So I'll give you a category. You list 3 things from that category, then we'll move on to the next one.
Okay.
And we'll just keep going until we're done.
Okay.
All right, here we go. These are 3 things. First category, after school / work snack.
Cheese.
1.
I'm going to go nachos.
2.
Peanut butter.
3, very nice. Great choices. Next category, art exhibits that you've seen.
Oh my gosh. Monet.
1.
Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. I've gone to, I don't know, I'm sure Andy Warhol.
Okay, Andy Warhol, Monet. 2. One more.
Could I just list art museums that I've been to?
You could give me a museum. I'll take that.
The Chichu Museum in Japan.
Ooh,
one of my
nice.
favorite.
3.
Yep.
All right, last category, lighting design vocabulary.
Oh, that's easy. Illuminance.
1.
Luminance.
2.
And lumens.
3. These are 3 things. All right. So I want to circle back to that first category. That's just a fun one, after school and work snacks. But I noticed a theme. Cheese. First 2.
Yeah,
all
I know.
about the cheese.
No, I will always go for cheese. And I sometimes overdo it. But no, I like cheese.
You never can. Okay. So if you're grabbing cheese, what kind of cheese are we grabbing?
Ooh, I like the Drunken Goat one that has like the red wine. Ooh. Have you ever had that one?
Is that at Trader Joe's?
Yeah, I think they have it at Trader Joe's. It's that's one of my favorites. Okay. It's like a goat. I guess it's like it's a white cheese. I don't know if it's a goat cheese or not. I like a good blue cheese too.
Oh yeah, delicious.
I like blue cheese dressing.
Yep.
A good brie.
A good brie.
Yeah, there's not really any cheese that I don't like.
I was like, those are all great cheeses that you listed. So I trust your taste. All right, so we got cheese, we got nachos, we got peanut butter. You know, if you're not feeling the cheese, always go peanut butter. I think that's a good pivot.
I mean, like comfort, grilled cheese too, but like piece of toast with peanut butter.
It's just like a different kind of grilled cheese in a way. Yeah, it's really just something you can put on bread. I think that's the snack we're looking for here.
I do like a good bread.
There you go. All right, that's second category, art exhibits. Why do you think I asked you about that?
Well, probably because I'm in the arts and I feel embarrassed that I'm kind of stumbling and blanking on. There's actually an art exhibit that I want to go to. I haven't been to the Ed Ruscha, which. So the question is,
why do you think I asked you about that category?
Why do you think probably because it's, I guess, somewhat aligned with my career, and lighting obviously can play an important role in it. Oh, you know what other exhibit I saw was I'm sorry, James Turrell. That's the name that I was. Okay. He had an exhibit at LACMA a number of years ago, which was really good. I like when I kind of have a love-hate relationship with, obviously, because, I feel as though sometimes I feel like art's fairly personal.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're just sort of with herds of people, I remember having that feeling when I went to the Whitney Museum in New York, and it just opened, or it was a fairly new museum, and it's just everyone feels like they should be there because it's the new place to be, and it gives you culture, and you check it off. And so I kind of sometimes feel like, are we really understanding what the artists are saying? A good memory I have, so obviously exhibits sometimes don't necessarily land with me, because you're sometimes not sitting there reading what the curator was really, thinking when they put together the exhibit. But it was at the Louvre in 2020, right? It's right at the beginning of the year, so this was kind of
right before.
But right before everything changed, and I had one full day to myself in Paris, and I went to the Louvre and I tried to see every piece of art, which is not possible.
No way. Yeah.
But I started at the top, and that was really interesting. And I was listening to. I had the recorder of the curator, that you stop at certain pieces of art and they give you the history of it. And I thought that was, I think whenever you have someone who really knows the history of it, I actually have a degree in art history. So,
oh, wow, that's amazing.
I was a double major in architecture and art history. So I did quite a bit of studying of artwork. And I don't know if I necessarily have an absolute favorite artist, because then architecture kind of was more of my world, and I have more kind of personal and meaningful connections with certain architects. But sorry, did I kind of go around and around and around?
No, not at all.
On art. I just like it when art, and I said the Chichu Museum in Japan, which is...
tell me about that.
So it's in Naoshima, which is an island. It's not the easiest place to get to. I recommend anyone who's going to Japan to try to make it to this island, because I was really mind-blowing. Or it was mind-blowing going, because it is... it's an island, and there are local towns there. But then... And I don't know the specific history. It's not too old. But basically a foundation bought a bunch of land there and dedicated it to art. So the museums, they're not huge, but they're dedicated to certain artists. So the Chichu Museum, I think there's 4 artists. And the one that really struck me was there was a collection of the Monet lily palette, the lilies, that period of his work. So the Impressionists, and the museum is lit with natural daylight. So there's, no track lighting, and you walk in and it's white walls. You have to take your shoes off. It's like you're floating. It's just, it makes you see art in a very different way than the traditional art museum that we have here in the U.S. So
sounds beautiful.
it was a really, Japan actually kind of has a special place in my heart too, because I traveled outside of the country when it was in my teen years was the first time that I left the country. Then my summer after I graduated from college, I spent some time in Japan on an architecture trip, and I had never really knew much about the Asian culture. And then going to Japan was, just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
In terms of just seeing different way of thinking, particularly their attention to detail, and it's a really beautiful country.
Yeah, it's on my list. It's on my list. I did Europe this summer. Now I got to get out. I would like to go to Japan.
Yeah, I recommend Japan.
A stunning endorsement, I will say. All right, our last category. I asked you about lighting design vocabulary, which I think is obvious at this point. But you are a lighting designer. That is your profession.
Yeah, that's what I do.
So
my day job.
Can I ask you to define those 3 terms that you listed?
Yes, I said them pretty fast. So illuminance is the amount of light that's coming off a surface. So we measure that in foot candles. So if you're a lighting designer or architect, you maybe have heard that, or an engineer. So we use that a lot in the day-to-day work of, how much light is needed in, say, an office space or something like that. So we measure how many foot candles is needed. So that's our metric. I forget what was the other word. Luminance?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I think just opposites,
yes.
right?
So there's illuminance with an I, and then luminance with an L, which is just a fancy way of saying brightness or glare. So it's a little bit harder to quantify. But I spent quite a bit of time in the past year or so thinking about luminance and brightness and facade lighting design. So, an important thing. And then lumens was the last thing. Yes. I kind of chose words that were all very similar because our language
similar roots.
And lighting kind of is all sounds very, very similar. And so, lumens is just the amount of light coming out of a light fixture.
Yeah.
So you might see it on, if you buy like a light bulb, it will say how many lumens. So it's just, think of it like water coming out of a hose. It's just how much light is coming out of that light source.
I like that analogy. Water from a hose, but light from a fixture. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
It's always fun to hear experts kind of like explain terms. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to define those 3, the differences. No way. So thank you for sharing. All right. So we mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I want to take it back to thinking about maybe the first time in your life you heard about, saw, maybe you read something about improv. When was the first time you were exposed to it?
That's a good question. Probably in my teen years, I was a big comedy watcher, and I know Saturday Night Live is probably the first, thing that I can remember. I guess it's not maybe true improv, but
it's got some in there.
I mean, a lot of those
they're
people
doing it live. Yeah.
But then in my high school years, Kids in the Hall, Second City, SCTV, those types of things came in, and then I was like, oh, okay. So I think that's where I don't think I really understood what it was until I came to IFTP and started understanding the rules, and then that made me dig a little bit deeper and wanting to know, like, all these people that came through Second City or Groundlings or wherever, all these comics that we love kind of have this training.
Yeah. I think of like Catherine O'Hara, Eugene Levy.
Yeah,
oh my gosh, Catherine O'Hara, one of my all-time favorites.
One of my favorites.
Oh my gosh, just what a career! What a career! So growing up, you had this interest in comedy. Were you, or would you describe yourself as a performer?
No.
So you're not involved. You weren't doing school plays and the choir or anything like that growing up?
No.
Not
really at all. I was very shy, and maybe had a little bit of a desire to do it. I think in high school I did try out towards my senior year, but it was like something really small. think we did like, what was it? We did like some readings. It was not a full on play.
Okay. Yeah.
There were sort of like theater kids.
Yeah.
That was sort of that crew.
Gotta watch out for them.
Yeah, there was that group that I didn't really, I didn't really fit into.
Yeah.
No. I still don't think of myself as a performer. No.
Not a theater kid?
No, I know. And I work with a lot of theatrical lighting designers who come from that theater world. And I'm still like, well, I don't fit in here.
I don't know about this.
Yeah. I love theater. I mean, I like live theater. I have a lot of respect for that. But no, I don't think I could. Yeah, I don't know. But no, I don't think of myself as a performer. Okay. No.
So would you think high school you would be surprised to see you where you are now in your improv journey?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I didn't think that I would. I mean, I love comedy. Like, I love. I guess it started in high school when I discovered. I think Kids in the Hall was sort of when I really was like, my eyes sort of opened. I think there's always that time, and like you're 15 years old, and so when you're discovering either music or just what you think is cool.
Yeah, you get into something.
Yeah,
really into
it. That maybe is not everyone is going to. Like I was always sort of, if everyone's going that way, I'm going to go this way. So they were showing this was reruns in like mid 90s when I was seeing it on Comedy Central, and so that, and it took me a minute. I was like, I don't really get this. Then you start watching it more regularly, and you're like, oh my God, this is so weird and perfect. And so I always had a really deep love for it, and it never really left. Yeah. And in high school too, I watched a lot of, this was at the same time, like mid 90s was when all those half-hour comedy specials were coming out for stand-up. Yeah. Like
so many.
Yeah.
HBO was really taking off. Yeah.
So I remember watching Dave Attell, Mark Maron, Janine Garofalo, kind of that Gen X kind of crew.
Group, yeah.
And and I used to babysit a lot, so I would be up on that Friday, Saturday night. They've got cable, and I'd sit with my frozen pizza and just, that was me soaking it in. Of like, so it just like hit. I still watch YouTube clips of like that old stuff. Yeah. That's my go-to.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So comedy, it's always been there as an influence.
Yeah.
I mean, even from an early age. It sounds like you had some great taste too.
Yes.
Some good comics, some good sketch. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love watching like interviews with those people, and I got to see. If you look on my Instagram, I actually have a photo with myself and Dave Attell.
Whoa, really?
He was. Yeah, they were doing that Bumpin' Mics a couple years ago. This was like before COVID, with him and Jeffrey Ross, and we saw him at a casino. And then you could line up and get a photo with them, and I was like, yes, I want to get a photo.
Let's go. We got to get.
And he was very quiet and very shy and like super nice. Yeah.
Very nice to meet you. Oh, that's awesome. Oh man. Okay. So, gosh. So we fast forward. You're working. I think you're killing it. Probably you're doing lighting design. You study architecture and art history, which is an amazing double major. I think. And that leads to you having this career in lighting design. At some point, your boss is like, hey, I want you to work on, it was your public speaking, right?
Yes.
You said, okay.
Yeah. And I think that there is, I mean, I don't know if I want to go down this road, but the way that you speak, particularly if you are having to command an audience of, in a work scenario, where whether it's a sales type or you're presenting an idea to a room full of people that are older than you or are in my case like usually developers, how do you gain their attention being kind of a more shy, quiet female? That's was essentially kind of what it boiled down to was how do you can't really change your voice per se, but how can you bring your personality into it and connect with people so you don't. Because I remember when, and it doesn't happen as much anymore, and maybe this is, I want to say it's improv training, but also maybe also age and confidence. But I used to get, I couldn't really breathe. I would be speaking so quickly, and my nerves would just kind of take over if I were, say, presenting and someone made me nervous. So that, I think, is where it's like, I want to be able to control this. I want to be able to not have that happen to me.
Yeah.
And it does sometimes still, but
that's
now
natural. Yeah.
yeah, but I feel like not really being so nervous, even if you don't have everything figured out.
Yeah.
Just being like, I can wing it. And people, react well when you can kind of improv or just play off of them. And so you can, and not feel as that you have to come with, when I see people show up with like a written presentation, like they're reading it word for word, I'm like, oh dear God.
Terrible.
Which I've seen in like very professional, conferences. I'm like, oh God.
Oh, yeah. Everybody knows it too.
Yeah, it's so obvious and it's boring and it's feels just unnatural. So I kind of feel as though, and I think that even when I was in school, I remember a professor, because we'd have to give a lot of presentations and present your work. Yeah. And I remember a couple of professors were like, oh, you're actually pretty good at speaking. Yeah. So I kind of knew that I could do it, but
the gift was there.
Yeah, I think there were germs of it. I wasn't completely. I had the ability to connect with people. I think improv just kind of brought it to a new level, and it just sort of exposed me to this new art form that I had heard of but didn't really know what it was.
Yeah, and you had been watching and maybe you didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
All right, so you go on Yelp.
Yes.
You search it up, good reviews. I think I found it in a similar way, actually. You find it. You probably email this dude named Matt.
Yes, I think it was Matthew Arts.
Oh, Matthew Arts. I didn't know that. I need to ask him about that. I want to say it was
something. Yeah, because I think that was always what came up on our credit card statement.
Oh, yeah, different handle, different, everything. Okay, so you find Matthew Arts, and you come to an improv class. Do you remember what your mindset was going into it? What were your first impressions?
Really good question. I was trying to think about it. I'm like, who? Obviously, Matt was there.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to remember. I can't really remember anybody else that was maybe in that very first class. I remember it was in the old studio, which was an old theater over on Washington, and I remember being probably a little bit nervous, but I mean, Matt is, kind of an angel walking among us. Yeah. So, he made you feel really welcome, like, you were part of the group right away. Mm-hmm. So that, was really nice. I didn't even really, I remember when I was initially looking, like, I recognize like UCB and these other sort of famous
different kind of names that
and I was like, oh, but that just seems too scary for what I'm looking for. Yeah. And so, I was like, this IFTP just seems like the right price, seems casual, easy. I can just go check it out and maybe take like a 10-week class and,
get your feet wet.
Yeah, just sort of, I didn't really know what I was getting into or kind of what the group was. And I actually brought my coworker. Oh, wow. I think he came.
Like, hey, come on.
Yeah, I was kind of like, come check this. I maybe when, I'm trying to remember now. It was either the first or second time. And I'm still friends with him. And he's like, you're still doing that? I'm like, yes,
he missed out.
Doing it.
He missed out.
He's like, I don't think it's for me. He didn't come back after, I think he came to 1 or 2 classes.
Yeah. He wasn't ready. It's not his time.
No, it wasn't his time. But I remember just being nervous. That first, I don't even know when it sort of left, but because I don't feel the same way now, but just entering into class and being nervous about getting up on stage.
Yeah.
Just feeling like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. So that was there for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. And it takes time for that to wear off. And
Yeah.
probably showing up every week like, okay, I got to do this again.
Yeah.
I got to get
Like,
up there.
Okay. Kind of prepping yourself. And now when I go to class, it's like, just game on.
Yeah.
Let's have fun.
You're ready.
And like, I think when you have, because once you keep doing it, you have those really amazing classes or those scenes that just everything works and they're just absolutely perfection. It kind of gives you a high.
Yeah.
So then it's like you just keep coming back and, there's no real math or magic necessarily to it. It's just sometimes it all works and sometimes it's hard. It just does not land.
Yeah. And it's worth it for those moments where it does.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, I know it's going to happen again.
Yes.
I don't know when, but I'm going to keep showing up until it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you remember, was there like a distinct time period or maybe something that happened where you kind of made a decision? You're like, I think I'm going to keep doing this. Went from, I'm going to do this for a little while to help with work to something that you wanted to stick with long term.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, it's funny. I was putting it on the company credit card for a couple of years. I got away with that.
I mean,
so
I think
there was
that's
sort of
fair.
that incentive. I was like,
Look, it's helping me for work, all right?
Yeah, it's necessary.
Just a few more classes.
Yeah. So that was part of it too. I'm
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
This is a fun thing that I can just
Work's going to help you do.
Yeah. I want to say, so after Matt, I had Brian Nelson was it? I don't know if you know him.
Okay, I know the name.
He was a teacher for a while back at the old studio.
Yeah.
And there was a group of us that really clicked. Robbie and who I don't think he's still taking classes. There was a good group, and and there were some really fun sketches and scenes that we did. And we'd go out like for drinks at like Father's office afterwards. So it started to kind of be like, oh.
Yeah, it was a little more than just class.
Yeah, and I did my first show, I remember, at the old theater.
Wow.
I don't even remember who was in it exactly. And I've never really had shows that I really remember too much. I never feel like it's necessarily my best work. But there was a scene that, so there was that. I think that's when it started to sort of feel like, oh, it's like a troupe and this is fun. And, we're getting,
Like,
you're seeing
right.
people get better.
Yeah.
And then it was a scene that is still talked about, which I feel honored that I was part of it. It was in when we had moved over here. I think it was in the studio over at the theater, at the Pico Theater, and it was with Dovey and me. And I don't even remember if they set us up with anything, but I worked at Bed Bath & Beyond, and I was a supervisor. I don't know if you've heard Matt maybe mention that one.
I have, yeah.
So that scene people still talk to me about, and for some reason it worked really well, and I had a crush on my employee, and I was giving him a performance review, and like it was just really good energy, and it just all hit. It was really good. So that was another kind of moment where I was like, oh, that was like one of those.
Yeah,
like,
you're like, I think I have something here.
This makes you want to come back and do it.
Yeah, you're like, wait a second, I'm getting good.
Yeah, and
I've been doing this for a little while.
Yeah, and it's really fun. You get to know so many people in the studio that you have just gotten to know over the years, and a lot of people keep coming back. Maybe they take a break, then they come back, and it's just become a nice community to keep in your life.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, the people you meet, it's like, I've been here, just 3 years now, a little over 3 years. Yeah, I'm just thinking about when I started, and there's like people I'm friends with just from that very first class session I was in. And I was like, wow, we're still in touch, even though I don't see them every week anymore. But, every time I see them, it's like, oh my gosh, so good to see you. And good to catch up.
Or you go to a show and you're like, no,
yeah, you run into someone. Yeah, like, hey, Wednesday nights or, whatever. Yeah, it's always so special. So thinking about your time as an improviser, do you remember what were some of the most challenging things to overcome in those early days? I mean, the fear of getting up there, right?
Yeah.
Every class being like, everybody has to go, everybody has to do the exercise, right? Was it like coming up with things on the spot, or?
I think one of the most challenging things, I remember, Matt, I would do things that were very transactional, and I didn't really know what that meant. And make it about the relationship. What about the relationship? And I found that difficult because it felt a little. I wasn't exactly sure how to get there.
Yeah.
And sometimes I still don't know how to get there. But sort of those, especially when in those beginning or earlier days where it'd be, and even still, when they stop you, like, stop, like, it's not, you're not making it. And then I always would sort of feel like, well, I don't want to be, I have something to tell you. Just stuff that feels like a little bit so obvious.
Yeah. I have a secret.
I've got a secret.
It's time to share.
The day, and it's like, then you have your laundry list of
moves.
like, you're pregnant, you're gay, you're
cheating
like,
on you. Yeah,
exactly.
all
It's
that
just
stuff.
sort of like, we've seen this a million times. So that's one thing that I would struggle with, the whole, you're making it too transactional.
Yeah.
So I would, I sometimes still stumble with that.
Yeah.
The early days too. Just the fear of being like, I don't know what to say. But then I think you just build up your toolbox, and I almost feel better when I don't feel like I have anything to say, and you just go to your go-to space work, and let the other kind of push down the other improviser to give you a name, or sort of
help fill those steps.
help paint the picture.
That's the point, right? You're both there to support one another.
And it's really fun when people, and now and the people that you're working with, what you're dealing with, and what they're gonna, to joyfully struggle sometimes can be just bonding and really fun. Or they just give you such, out there suggestions. And I try not to judge. Sometimes you're like, God, why did you make it in outer space?
You're like, fine. Yeah. Why are we at the zoo again?
I know.
No, I feel that. It can be hard not to. But then some of those scenes where you're like, fine, are sometimes the most fun. They're just the best ones that you end up doing, even if you don't love the suggestion.
Or sometimes when it's really angry, you're like, oh, okay. Like, you don't love me anymore. I'm like, okay.
Here we go.
Here we go again.
Relationship. Yeah. All right. So I want to ask you about, more recently, some of the work you've done at IFTP. You were in the sketch show back in August that we did. And you wrote I loved your sketch.
Thank you.
Story of Sharon and Fiona auditioning for a play. I just kind of want to talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
So Colleen wrote a sketch where it was a British mother and daughter who auditioned for a very serious, dramatic British stage play, right?
Yes.
And they were just the biggest Dick Van Dyke fans. Beautiful accents, beautiful choreography. They sung and danced their way through the audition. Where did you get the inspiration for that sketch?
A couple different things. So, I love British comedy too, and was a big Jennifer Saunders, Dawn French fan. And so the whole mother-daughter, same thing with Kath and Kim, the Australian comedy. So the mother-daughter relationship, I thought, I've just seen that be funny, especially when either the mother is childlike and the daughter is very prim and proper, which is the Absolutely Fabulous model, or the Kath and Kim is, if you haven't seen the Australian version, it's on Netflix. I highly recommend watching it. So there was that dynamic that I thought, and I'd worked with Sheba Cohen before, and so, I know she'll go far.
Yes.
Probably farther than, she'll do it.
She will commit.
She commits 110%.
Yes, every time.
And I knew that she can't do a British accent very well.
No.
She does not.
She has a lot of strengths.
but she could do, whenever she would do a British person in any of our classes, she would all of a sudden become this Cockney,
whoa,
this bad Dick Van Dyke kind of accent.
Yeah.
And then, and we worked quite a bit together, and looking at like, okay, who should we try to imitate? How can we really kind of get this accent in? So we watched YouTube videos of the Oasis, the Gallagher brothers. And if you, and just sort of pronunciation. So we were kind of trying to mimic, in probably not a great way, a Manchester accent. Yeah. So we were trying to go for the North England vibe and being very committed to, loving all things British. Yeah. And, kind of Spice Girls thrown in there, and kind of just the 90s Britpop, over the top, Union Jack on everything type of love. Yeah. So there was that, and then just being sort of these over the top characters I thought was fun. And then I was like, well, where's this, with this mother-daughter relationship, and what sort of, and then there was also, I watched some episodes of Dance Moms. So there was this reality TV show, stage mom vibe, but her daughter's like a, 26-year-old woman.
Yeah. Rather than the 10-year-old child. No,
they're a duo of like, she's going to be a star, and, watch out. And I'm the ultimate stage mom. And then, I tried to kind of throw in some smart references of like Kenneth Branagh and the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts, like real things that, and I forget what the play was, but it was,
I can't remember.
Something that only very, serious,
very specific pointed reference.
Shakespearean theater people would really know. And, and then sort of, knowing that pretty much all British people think Dick Van Dyke had the worst fake British accent of all time. Yeah. But he's just such a great guy, and he's so talented.
He can dance, he can sing, he's so good.
Yeah, and so then sort of pulling in.
Let's give him a pass.
Yeah, sort of. And I didn't know when I wrote it, when you start throwing choreography into there and singing and acting.
Yeah, it was ambitious.
It was a very ambitious thing to put on. And Sheba was a really good sport. Yeah, and we
worked hard.
For 40 seconds of dancing was like 3 full days of practice.
But it was so sharp.
Oh, good. I'm glad it was. Yeah. and also I watched quite a few videos of, and I loved those late 60s movies like the Mary Poppins and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and all these. When you go back and watch those movies too, you really realize the production value. I'm like, holy crap. Yeah. This was some serious dancing, and not just like, how many times did they have to do those takes? Because this is real, group choreography dancing.
On film, so much pressure. With everything.
Yeah. So we took inspiration from there, and we really kind of had to pare down the choreography, because they're like, we can't hit the beat with these moves. We tried to imitate stuff, especially Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. That is
that's a tough one,
very fast pace beat.
Yeah.
And there's certain things, like, we're just not trained dancers too, so you really you really kind of appreciate how much. And this is one thing I sort of feel like in my practice I would maybe think about. I haven't done it yet, but maybe taking movement classes, or you hear about
tap.
Yeah, or even just those. I think in like if you go to Juilliard or something like that, right? You're doing movement classes, or just learning how to move your body on stage. Yeah. But it was. I think it came out all right. When you're in it, it's hard to know. Yeah. How the jokes are landing, and I thought sketch was a really hard thing to do. Yeah, it's a different animal than improv.
Oh, very, and I think just it's a lot of outside of class work. Yeah, that just it stays with you. You leave, you're still thinking about it. You got to fix this. You got to work on that. Oh, I got to add in this one thing. Oh, I got to change that line. Oh, I got to get this choreography down. I need to find that prop. There's so many additional elements that come into play. Just with the whole production of the thing, right? Oh, I want to add a lighting cue here. I want the sound cue needs to change. It's a whole different beast.
Yeah.
But I think I loved how ambitious your sketch was. Like you said, with the choreography, the music, and just the acting. Like you were like, we're going to do accents. We're going to do
accents too, yes.
We're going to have multiple dance breaks. We're going to sing. We're going to have, like props. Just like you wrote lines for what? You had 6 different characters. The 3 judges, a mother and daughter, and then the... I can't remember his name. Yeah, it was just like Mad. Nigel, that's what it was. I was going to say Big Ben, but that was a different sketch. But yeah, just you just went for it, which I appreciated. You were like, this is what I want to do. No limits. Let's go for it. And you did. And I think it really paid off.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I mean, when I think back, I'm like, I kind of was thinking like, could Fiona and Sharon have, could you set them up as I feel like there could have been more character development.
Yeah.
You always sort of go back and you're like, I could have critiqued it. And the goal was, could Fiona and Sharon be, could they then go and do on a different adventure?
Yeah. Where else would we find them?
Where else? Yeah.
I'd watch a sequel.
You would watch a sequel?
Oh, yeah. Sharon and Fiona, I want to see, they're not always auditioning. They've got other things going on.
What did they do in their spare time?
Exactly. I want to see that.
That's true. Yeah.
What's their home life like?
Oh, yes.
Romance for Sharon and Fiona.
Oh, yeah.
How's that going?
Yeah. I think they're Sharon's looking for love. I think that's what is going on in Sharon's life.
Yeah. I mean, I think we see that in SNL, right? With so many iconic characters. It's like they start in this one sketch and then they realize, we have a hit here. What else can we explore about aspects of this character's life? What's their story?
Yeah.
I'm down to see that for Sharon and Fiona. What's next?
Well, maybe on the next sketch show, maybe I'll have to refine what they're gonna do next.
Yeah.
But it was not easy to stay in. You had to think about the accent.
Yeah.
And she was really good at it now. She pulled out the English accent.
Yeah.
I think it was in a show just recently, and and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're doing.
She's like, I've got it now.
Yeah. You just gotta go, all me.
Yeah.
You kind of don't pronounce everything.
Yeah.
But there's like catchphrases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some slang. Yeah. You just get that in there and you can pull it off.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. I think, did that feel, signing up for that class, did that feel like a risk? Like you were like, all right, I'm going to do this. I don't know what
totally.
This is.
Yeah. Writing it down felt so much more permanent.
Yeah.
Improv is just, you don't really have to prepare. You just show up, do it, and then it's just sort of gone into the ether. But this was like, there's more permanence, right?
Yeah.
And so that I felt critical as I was writing it. I'm like, does this work? I felt like my father is a writer, so I've always been a little intimidated by writing.
Yeah.
I mean, he writes very serious legal historian types of things. So, but he's always been he's a very good writer. Yeah. So it's something he takes really seriously. So I've always been a little bit, I don't know. I've never thought of myself as a great writer. And that's another thing I'd like to keep exploring too.
Absolutely.
Is this type of writing. How do you write comedy? I think that's a really interesting skill that I don't really know how you I know there are comedic writers that, when you see it performed on screen, you're like, that's, like a Veep or something like that. You're just like,
it's like, wow. Show like 30 Rock. Yeah,
exactly. 30 Rock. Those types of shows that you're just like, or even, you mentioned Catherine O'Hara, like Schitt's Creek. I think some of that was improvised. But
and just her.
I mean, the fact that she created that character is just...
Moira Rose, Yeah. That was like, it was the writer, but also like she's just a phenomenal performer.
Yeah.
And I think with comedy too, it's like really can soar. When it comes to comedy writing, it's like the mix of both great writing to support the performance, and the performance that can even, elevate the writing further. It's just, taking those, anyone can read words off a page, right? But it takes a particular performer to really elevate those words.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Or, sometimes make tweaks on the fly too. That happens in sketch, not Shakespeare, but a lot of performances. Yeah. There's little changes or the subtleties to it. Okay. So I want to bring us back to improv because that was a fun dive into sketch a little bit. And thank you for sharing. I love just hearing how people kind of found those pieces and wrote them, because it was just so much fun to be a part of and to see your growth in that process. Yeah.
And I just sort of took a leap. I just was like, well, is this I was just sort of like, I this is what I'm going to do. Yeah. I think it's not as though I necessarily had those specific characters and what they were going to do when I entered the class, but I just was like, well, I love British. I love the Brit pop. I like, I wouldn't say I'm some diehard, Dick Van Dyke fan, but I love the fact that he's, such an icon and still alive and, still at like 96 dance, can still move. It's
crazy. Yeah.
And it's worth it. Just I'll leave this in a minute, but if you watch, there's like a YouTube video of a breakdown of the Step in Time, but which we did not sing and dance to because that was maybe a little too ambitious. But
that's part two.
But they break down the dance,
Step in Time.
And it's just, you need to be a professional dancer to be able to keep up with that pace and the moves that they do. So he was. I still think he's a really talented. Actor.
Yeah, actor,
performer,
dancer, singer. Yeah, he's like a true triple threat.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't see that as much these days, but in old film, man, some of those folks up there. Wow. Yeah, Dick Van Dyke being one of the greats. Yeah, absolutely. So you're next. You got to write a tap number for your next sketch. Okay?
Maybe that's sort of my.
Get the tap shoes, get that flap heel. Yeah, all that stuff out there.
Well, it's sort of interesting too that it kind of. I love it when you just sort of learn maybe a little something new, and it was the same. I think it was a husband-wife team that did the choreography for Mary Poppins and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I think those movies. Yeah, there was. Famous choreographer, husband and wife team that choreographed it. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I always think of Bob Fosse, but it's not always Bob Fosse. He's very particular. Fred Astaire. No. Someone else. Okay. I'm going to have to learn about that. All right. I've got some homework. Okay. So bringing it back to improv, have you seen, or has there been any crossover between now the 6, 7, 8 years of work you've done here at IFTP in your professional life? Because that's where this started. Right? Yeah,
you were like, all right, I'm gonna do a little bit. I guess.
Yeah.
Some improv, and now you're writing Mary Poppins sketches. So, what has that crossover been like in your work here, bleeding into your professional life?
That's a good question. I think I use it probably. Don't even quite realize that I'm using it in terms of listening. Maybe also just being able to read people, like when, if they're open or not. You kind of notice that more when people just sort of say no. And not maybe not so overtly, but in a work situation where it is usually very collaborative. Yeah. And I'm always sort of amazed at how often people don't really know how to be collaborative or how, hey, I'm giving you something and you just start like, throw it away. Yeah,
shutting it down. You're like,
shutting it down because I'm doing it my way kind of attitude.
You're trying to have a little bit of back and forth.
Yeah. You just sort of want that. And some people do and some people don't. Yeah. I brought in, you mentioned some work friends too that are still with it, which is fun to see. And I probably use it every day and probably in ways that I don't fully can identify. Yeah. But I definitely think just the skills of listening, of being open, trying to, I feel like I'm still, everyone's sort of a work in progress and identifying, where I could be better, or trying to figure out how to be a stronger leader. That's sort of where I am right now in my career. How do I know how to do stuff, but how do I communicate that so I connect with people? And not everyone is the same too. And that's something that you have to just be open to and go, okay. And just, I would say in the same leadership vein is, and I think it's been a process. I don't know if it's like all these sort of specific things in improv, but learning how to figure out your own style. Even in improv too, I think everyone has their own style, and that's okay. You don't have to be sort of this assertive. I think actually sometimes the most assertive people are not very, I struggle with improv.
Yeah.
Or have that, I don't know if it's ego or what you want to call it, but such a strong point of view sometimes can be
able to share or make space.
Yeah,
for the other.
It's hard to work with somebody like that. So I think just sort of stepping into your own voice and seeing, it works in improv. It can work in other parts of your life too. You don't have to necessarily be this, strong extroverted, I guess almost, I struggle with like the idea of perfection, or feeling like you kind of have to be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
And you don't. You can be, I don't know, vulnerable, or just be more comfortable with yourself in your own skin. Yeah. And your imperfections.
Yeah. It's because that's improv. You bring all that to the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the best improvisers are going off, their own instincts. What do you want to do in a scene? Not someone else. It's seeing what your mind comes up with in the spot. Is what's interesting in a performance and what's funny.
Yeah.
And that's your unique perspective coming in.
Yeah.
I like that. And I think, it's just an interesting concept of you can make yourself open, but not everyone else around you is. Yeah. And that's just life. That's just work. That's personal life. That's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But so long as you're always ready to play, I think it's going to set you up for success.
And I think now, and I think other people share this viewpoint, is going into improv class now is a mental break.
Yeah.
It's almost a little therapeutic sometimes. Maybe you're coming in with some heavy stuff that's maybe going on throughout the day, and it just is a release.
Yeah. Blow off some steam.
Yeah.
Get silly. Go to space.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can go anywhere.
Do a tap dance. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you can just sort of, whatever maybe weird mood you're in, you can bring it to the table, and that's okay.
Put it out there. Put it up on stage. Work it out. Yeah. And I think that can be a lot of fun, too. I love that. All right. You ready to do some improv?
Yeah.
I got a little game for you. But before we start this game, I need your help with something.
Okay.
Just off the top of your head, a little, let's call it a 3 things reprise. Can you just list 3 historical events for me?
Just in general?
Just in general. Yeah. 3 historical events. Just whatever you think of.
The Dodgers winning the World Series this year.
Dodgers winning the World Series this year.
Okay. Barack Obama being voted president.
Barack Obama, 2008 election.
The financial crisis of 2008 too.
All right, 2008, big year.
Yeah, sorry, that was a big year.
All right, you know what? We're going to pick the 2008 financial crisis.
Oh, okay.
All right, so this game is called Historical Hiccup. And how this game will work is that you and I, we're going to reenact that moment, the 2008 financial crisis. But something is going to go differently in that moment. And we're going to find out what that is.
Okay.
Yeah. And we're just going to let the scene roll. I'll black us out when we're done. Yeah. All right. I've been staring at these figures for the last I don't know, 3-4 hours, and I can't seem to make any sense of it. I mean, the housing prices are just, they're skyrocketing.
Randy. We were given orders.
Oh, you're right.
I mean, I highlight the forms. You input it into the computer. We go home. That's what we do here.
I know, and I'm thinking too much. I shouldn't. I'm not here to make sense of the numbers. Just here to process them.
No.
Punch my card. Get out of here.
That's right. I've had 18 cups of coffee today.
Yeah, I know.
And I've used my yellow highlighter, my orange highlighter, and my pink highlighter. It's been a good day.
It has. Really, we can't ask for much more than that. Just come in, have some fun in the paperwork, get out of here, call it a day.
That's it.
Maybe grab a beer on the way home,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. Sometimes I change people's names too. I just think it's fun.
What?
Yeah,
No.
and their loans. I just,
Phillips, you're editing these legal documents?
Yeah, it seems, I don't really think there's a big problem with it.
But that's never, I guess if it's never come back to bite you.
No, never. It's,
They can't trace it back.
No, it's,
That's...
I've gotten away with it for the last 10 years.
Okay.
I think it's
10 years?
Yeah, 10 years.
Oh
I've been doing
gosh.
this. I've been playing little games with
No harm, no foul, right?
Yeah, look at this guy's name. What does that say? Yeah, that's right.
Brian Edwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Look at it now. Brain Edwards.
Brain. Phillips.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's pretty
We've had
good.
a couple people come in and
Yeah.
say, I think you got my name wrong. But, other than that, it's just good, clean fun.
Typo. Oops.
Yeah,
Typo.
just a
Oops.
little typo. It's human error.
A lot of paperwork. Oops. Typo.
Yeah.
Wait. Check this out. I got it. If it doesn't hurt anyone.
Exactly.
Look at this one. Annette Johnson. Burnett Janssen.
Yeah,
They'll be like,
that's
who is
right.
that?
Yeah, exactly.
Who is that?
They'll still get there. We're not changing their address.
They'll
Just
still
their
get there.
names.
We could change the address too.
Oh, yeah.
There's like a lot of stuff on here we could change.
Yeah, super easy.
We're the last folks to see these papers, before they go into storage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Look at this. Look at this price right here. I'm just going to change this period, make it a comma.
That's right.
Just went up 3 zeros.
Yep.
Things are expensive.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
right.
That's
That's
crazy.
right.
Just put that away, file it away in storage.
Yeah, that's right. Storage. Who knows where that is?
Who knows where that is?
Just the ether of paperwork.
I got to do another one. Okay. Oh my gosh, Phillips,
I know.
you've
it's
unlocked
not-
something in me.
Yeah, I know. There's no reason for
Check
work
this out.
to
Check
be
this out.
boring.
Look at the interest rate right here.
Yeah. Let's say it's 4.2.
4.2. What if we just slide that period over? We're at that 42.
42.
42.
Someone's going to be getting a big bill.
A big bill, lots of interest.
Uh-oh. Just ruined someone's day.
Oh, bummer.
So maybe their whole year, maybe their whole life.
Oh, what? There's no way this could come back to us, right?
I don't know.
No, I don't think no one's going to audit this. No one's going to see this.
I barely graduated high school. Come on. I'm just here for the coffee, really. I just
Yeah, it's so good. It's that machine.
yes.
It's I think it's just Folgers,
Really?
Nothing special, just regular.
Oh.
But keeps me going.
Yeah.
Phillips
I
keeps
know.
me going.
Well, yeah, they put the free donuts out on Thursday mornings
It's
for
pretty great here.
The
Yeah.
people that come in for the loans. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really just us. You know,
Yeah.
they just trust us in this room with all this paperwork.
I know.
It's really, I mean, look, I'm not in charge. I just do what I'm told.
Yeah.
Fudge a couple numbers.
Well, I gotta tell you something, Randy. My real name's not Phillips.
What?
I lied on my application for this job.
Oh, you sly dog. What?
Yeah. Phillips is actually the name of my my old high school math teacher.
Oh, they got to figure that out.
So, you know, even if they do let me go, who cares?
They'd be like, well, Phillips is fired, but I'm not.
I'm not Phillips.
Oh,
my real name's Gordon.
Gordon.
Yeah.
That's a cool name.
Yeah.
Cool
I just
name.
got to always remember that my name is Phillips here, though.
Yeah. You come to work, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
Phillips, now time to highlight and change some numbers. Oh.
Yeah.
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 It's pretty cool, Gordon. I mean, Phillips.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Secret safe with me. Well, since we're sharing secrets, Gordy,
Yeah.
Gordy, old pal. You ever just grab a couple of these papers, shred them?
Oh, yeah.
I thought I was the only one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! You
I can't. The filing is so archaic.
Sometimes I'm like, okay, there's a lot of. We don't need all of these.
Yeah, it's like, come on. It's in the computer too, isn't it?
It's in the pewter. Yeah,
It's in the cloud somewhere.
Someone
I don't know.
scanned it.
Yeah.
They put it. Into Microsoft Word.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes, can't. This must be just backups, right?
Yeah.
Just backups for numbers someone's already written down.
Yeah. I just like to get stuff off my desk.
Yeah, just using clearing the trays.
Yeah.
That's about it. And you know what? Boss seems happy. They don't pay attention to me.
Yeah.
They don't ask questions.
No one's ever brought it up.
So I think we're fine. We just keep on keeping on.
I'm just Phillips with my highlighter and my coffee.
Blackout. I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I think I saw that the movie The Big Short. That was pretty much what I saw in that movie.
Oh, I didn't see that, but it feels like an Office Space kind of.
Yeah, it's just pretty much exactly what happened. Yeah, word for word, verbatim.
Yeah.
All right, Colleen, before we wrap up tonight's episode, any last words you want to leave us with before we go on life, on improv, on Dick Van Dyke?
I like Dick Van Dyke, but I'm not like a diehard fan by any means. Yeah, I will say I didn't mention him, but one of my favorite actors is Alan Arkin, who was a very early improviser. That was his training.
Yeah.
And I would
Compass Players? Go back to, or no?
Yeah, I think it was Second City, or
Second City,
the original.
The first group,
the first group. And he wrote a memoir. He has a couple books out, but he has a book called The Improvised Life, and I recommend that. And he has this great story about, it's in his introduction, when he was talking to Madeline Kahn. They were on a movie together, and I just think this whole story kind of sums up what improvising means. And he was asking her, because she was this multi-talented actress, singer. Did I?
Oh, you're good. Yeah.
And he asked her, he said, do you consider yourself a singer, a dancer, an actress? What do you kind of consider yourself?
Yeah.
And she said, I just want to be the music, which I thought was, she's like, I don't consider myself any of those things. I want to be the music that connects it. So that's what I always sort of think of. And I thought it was just a really lovely way to put it. And I recommend that book too. It's
The Improvised Life by Alan Arkin.
Yeah. It's, just his thoughts about making a living doing this, and how improvising is sort of at the core of his theatrical training and sort of the way he lived his life too.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm going to have to check that out. I know a little bit about him from some improv history books.
Yeah.
But I'm going to check out.
Yeah, it's a good read.
Thank you for that recommendation.
Sure.
Well, thank you so much to Colleen Peach for coming on this episode of Improv for the Podcast. As always, you can find us anywhere podcasts are streamed or check out the video version on YouTube. But as always, we'll be back next time with another episode. But until then, bye. Improv for the Podcast was created by Matt Moore and Michael Lee Evans. Edited and produced by Michael Lee Evans. And finally, presented by Improv for the People. Interested in more IFTP? You can visit us at improvforthepeople.com or on our socials, such as Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. Remember, new episodes are released weekly. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.